Okay, here we go again. This time we are talking about the steps that are necessary to set up a new study for the assessment of aquatic biodiversity in rice-based ecosystems.
It takes 4 steps to get there. The PRA, your introduction to the communities you are going to work with, the daily data collection, the verification of your results, and finally, the publication of your research. At first, and before you even meet the local communities, you should have a good idea where you are going to work. You should have some background information if there is anything to be found in the first place. But it doesn't help you at all if you find a most exciting research area, but it takes you 5 hours on foot to get there. For some time, you should go there every day or at least 3 times a week. And finally, your research should be in tune with the seasons. While in some areas rice is grown all year round, there are others which have distinct seasons, such as the one here. From Mali in West Africa. In such a case, you should have your baseline data ready before the sowing or planting of the rice starts. Your field visits have to take place in the cultivation period, and you can do the verification of your results after the harvest of the rice, when the villagers have time for you again. When you have decided where you go, contact the village authorities to set up a meeting with the villagers. Check ahead if you have to have other permits from local authorities as well. If you are dealing with a small village, all the villagers should be invited. In big villages, only a selection of the people will be invited, and there you have to pay attention who is on the list. If only rice farmers are on the list, you might forget that sometimes landless people come to rice fields to collect foodstuff there, sometimes a lot more than well-off farmers might. And when you invite only men, the activities of women and children will possibly be forgotten during the PRA. In short, make sure that everyone that uses the aquatic resources is also invited to the PRA. And if you promise snacks, there will be more people coming. The next question to answer is which PRA tools you are going to use. There are quite a lot of tools available, and you have to make a selection ahead. Keep in mind what information you want to have and select the tools accordingly. You will want to get a species list. During this exercise, the villagers are asked to create a list of species they get from the rice-based ecosystem. You may well divide the villagers into groups according to gender, men and women in different groups, or access rights, landowners and landless in different groups, to work out differences in the use and also in the knowledge on aquatic organisms. Remember that each group needs one researcher to moderate, but not to lead the process. So you need to be enough people to do this properly. Information and the tools used to catch, trap, or hunt the species is added for each of the species. Also, it is a good idea to ask what the species is used for and to remind people that apart from food, there may be medicine or feeds for animals and so on, what the species in the rice field may be used for. You can collect the results directly on flipchart paper, or you can use smaller cards and group those before pinning them or gluing them to a flipchart. Another tool you may use is the village map. Also for this exercise, it is helpful to divide the villagers into groups. Each group should then draw a map of their village and indicate where their resources are. They should also mark areas where they are catching particular species, such as fish or frogs, and so on. If you have the means, check if Google Earth or Bing Maps or any other mapping source can provide you with high-resolution imagery of the village. If people can find their own house on such an image, they can also indicate very well where they catch fish and collect snails and so on. But don't use topographic maps, such as the ones from Namria here in the Philippines. Many people can't read them, and they will not be able to use them properly for this exercise. It is then better just to have a sketch map drawn by the individual groups. If you also like to get an idea about the development of the species composition over time, you can use a tool such as the timeline. For this exercise, people are grouped according to age. The older ones are asked to come up with a list of species they used to catch or collect when they were young, for instance, 25 years ago. Sometimes it is easier to use a landmark date, such as Panahon ni Marcos here in the Philippines. The younger ones then are asked to assess if those species are still around today and if they are more or less common now. This involves a lot of discussion, and you need to be a good moderator to manage such a discussion well. When you have decided which tools you are going to use, you have to prepare the materials you need. Flipchart paper, pens, cards, and so on. Don't forget to organize snacks and water or soft drinks for your guests. Remember, it was you who invited them. On the day of the PRA, make sure that you are on location early to prepare everything. Introduce yourself and your group and explain what you are going to do and what you request from the people. For the exercises, divide the villagers into groups and begin using the PRA tools. When you are done, present the results to all villagers as a whole and discuss what you found out. You may find out even more. Now you're ready for the real job. From the village maps, you have a rough idea where the action is. Go there, possibly every day, and see for yourself. Observe what is going on. Take photos of every critter you are shown and take notes. Ask lots of questions about the species you see, what they are used for, how plentiful they are, what they cost in the market, and then write up all the information you get. When you take pictures, make sure that they are good pictures. In the time of the digital camera, film is no longer an issue. Practice with your camera before you do the study. A booklet with hints on how to take better pictures of aquatic organisms is available, either for distribution or just download it from the internet. Back home or at the office, select the best shots of each species and make prints. Take those prints along to your field visits for cross-checking and as a basis for discussion. It is this species we are talking about, the one here in the picture. And finally, SD cards are cheap these days. Never ever compress your pictures. Always save them at the highest resolution possible and keep them that way. You can make great publications from high resolution pictures, but once JPEG has reduced them to little blocks, they're useless. To collect your information, Excel worksheets are a good way to keep it in one place and to keep it structured. So, create a workbook for your study and update it after each field visit. Like this, you find if you have missed a piece of information. So, get it next time, that is tomorrow, and not in 2 months. And keep one copy in your office and a backup at home. At least one. As I said, SD cards are cheap these days. To give you an idea what your Excel sheets should include. At first, and very basic, a list of species and their various names. Try to identify the species from the picture you took to get a scientific name and collect the local names. Assign the species to groups such as fish, amphibians, reptiles, mollusks. Each species gets a reference number. Then, take note which tool was used to catch the respective species. A matrix, such as in this Excel sheet, gives you a good overview. Use the picture and the reference number to identify the species. You already got a list of fishing tools from the PRA. Add to it when you see a new one. Create another matrix for when you have found the species. You may add information here on whether or not the species abundance has changed over time. Then you should create a worksheet for the various uses of each species. You should assign preference to each pair, such as this fish is used fresh only when we have nothing else. So under fresh it will receive a 1. But we like it to make fish paste. So it gets a 4 for fermented. You can also collect information on the market value of the species here. It may be worthwhile to go to a local market and ask for the prices, if the species are for sale there. For each of the fishing tools, take note where they are used. A cast net, for instance, will not be used in a rice field, but with some tools you just don't know. Find it out and write it down. Finally, write up a seasonal calendar for the fishing tools. Which tool is used in what month? Already while you are collecting your data, double-check and cross-check your information. Use your photo prints to discuss with the people about the species and try to verify what you found out about it. Discuss with varying groups and take note of what you hear. The longer your study lasts, the more opportunity you have for such feedback checks. Finally, at the end of your study, you should invite the villagers for another meeting. There, you show them what you found out. This is, on one side, a courtesy to them. Share with them what you have collected from them. But it is also your final opportunity to find out if something is not correct. So, encourage the people to point out errors and rectify them. Now you are done with the study. Make sure that your Excel table is complete, up to date, that your images are all there, and that you have a backup of everything in a safe place. All that is left now is to write a technical paper of what you found. Most of you will have done that before, but remember to keep it interesting, not only for your fellow scientists, but also for the uninitiated reader, the one who does not speak technical language. When you are done with that, send your material to Matthias for review and comments. And please don't forget, never ever compress your pictures. Once the review process is done, your study may be published online, on CD, and may well appear on posters and be referenced in follow-up publications by FAO. Like this, you can be sure that when you found out something worthwhile, it will also be noticed by the world, at least by that part that counts.
With that, I have come to the end of my presentation. I hope that you can make use of the information I've given you, and I wish you all the best for your future research plans. If the internet connection works, I will be online now for your questions and comments in case the internet is down. You can email questions to me and I will answer them shortly. Thank you very much for your attention. Bye bye.